that they were absolutely told by Starmer on the run-up to the election this would not happen, and they feel, apart from angry about the decision, they feel really betrayed by a guy who basically bought their vote and then did the dirty on them. And listen, I've never, ever, I'm not saying go on strike to anybody, but farmers have an absolute right to protest on this, and I think they'll find the government, very much like with pensioners, there's going to be huge groundswell of support amongst the British public.
There's absolutely no need to do anything to farming. Changing farming will have no effect on the environment. It's totally fine.
Elon Musk just destroyed Keir Starmer on live TV, and let's face it, it's pretty embarrassing when a tech billionaire has to swoop in to defend the rights of our farmers. You know, those same farmers who are quite literally the backbone of our nation, yet can't seem to get an ounce of support from the people supposedly running the country.
The strength of spirit that I'm feeling from farmers at the moment, this is the biggest protest the government has dealt with over domestic policy since the election, and farmers I think they feel forgotten about and they feel ignored.
The protests have been impossible to ignore, unless you're Keir Starmer, who must be pretending he's got bigger fish to fry. This is the same Starmer who, when he needed votes, promised to be the champion of the vulnerable. Yet, the moment he settled into power, he set his sights on cutting support for pensioners, made life even harder for the working class, and then decided farmers would be his next target.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to keep sort of doubling down on this belief that they have that this policy of theirs on inheritance tax will only affect a very small number of farms. Your numbers say a different story. How is there such a disparity between what you say in terms of how farms will be affected and what they say?
Maybe he thought no one would stand up for them. But now, with Elon Musk stepping into the scene, publicly calling him out and throwing his weight behind Trump's camp, it's likely Starmer is starting to sweat a little.
Stop attacking the farmers. They can just keep doing. They can keep doing what they're doing. We should just generally lean in the direction of a sustainable energy economy.
Starmer's inheritance tax policies have come crashing down on these farmers. Farms that have been lovingly passed down through generations, land that great-grandparents worked with their bare hands, land ancestors literally protected from invading forces during wartime, are now under threat. The government is slapping taxes so massive that some families are being forced to consider selling off land, or worse, losing the whole farm. And it's not just a financial blow. It's like ripping away their legacy, their heritage, their very reason for waking up at the crack of dawn every day.
Earlier on today, who's had the same family, have been working the same land for, I think he said 300 years,
Yep.
you know. And in other countries, in Australia and New Zealand, they actually stopped inheritance tax for the very reason that it was breaking up family farms. It is a crazy thing to do. £1 million is a really low threshold when you think of the value of the farmhouse, the machinery, all the land. It doesn't mean that these farmers are multi-millionaires.
And also, Tim Bonner, head of the Countryside Alliance, told me something I didn't know earlier, and I'm quoting him.
The betrayal these farmers feel is nothing short of soul-crushing. One man broke down, remembering how his great-uncle fought in World War II to save their land from the enemy, and now his family is battling their own government to keep it. Another farmer recounted how their fields survived bombings and German planes strafing the countryside, only for them to be wiped out by domestic policy. This isn't about money, it's about identity, tradition, and decades of back-breaking work being disregarded as if it means nothing. The rage and heartbreak? Oh, it's real, and some are even comparing this betrayal to the most unforgivable acts in history.
Just want fair play for the farmers. Everything we're doing, it is for our kids. It's their future, and everything is just going against it. This inheritance tax it's ridiculous.
Then, just as it felt like no one in power cared, it strolls Elon Musk. Yes, the same Elon Musk who's usually too busy plotting to colonize Mars or revolutionize transportation. Suddenly, he's right there on live TV, tearing into Starmer like a bulldog with a bone. Musk wasn't playing nice. He slammed the inheritance tax as a death sentence for family farms, a brutal policy that would obliterate the people keeping society from going hungry. He didn't sugarcoat it. He went straight for the jugular, and everyone was left speechless.
What is going on, Isabel? That's just what now Sherlock Holmes is an arse. I mean, really?
I mean, wear that right-wing badge with pride. You know, common sense is what this is, saying this is ridiculous. I mean, what next? I mean, maybe I've missed something. Are there trigger warnings on Shakespeare now?
And here's the kicker. Musk has zero personal stakes in this. He's not British, he's not a farmer, and he definitely doesn't have to worry about putting food on the table. So, why does he care? Well, Musk has a thing for builders, for people who create something from scratch and sweat blood to keep it alive. It's the same spirit that drives his companies, and he absolutely loathes government interference that crushes innovation and hard work. Maybe that's why he's backing the farmers, because he respects what they stand for, the grit it takes to keep a farm running. Plus, government overreach? That's one of Musk's biggest pet peeves.
The machinery, all the land, it doesn't mean that these farmers are multi-millionaires.
And also, Tim Bonner, head of the Countryside Alliance, told me something I didn't know earlier, and I'm quoting him. If you look at the value of a farm, you should take as 1% the money that the farmer would take out of it. So that's £10,000 for $1 million. And he was talking about a friend of his got a £5 million farm, right?
His words were blunt and hard-hitting. Stop attacking farmers. They are the backbone of civilization. That single line went viral. Suddenly, people from all corners of the globe were paying attention to British farmers, people who probably hadn't given farming a thought beyond what's in their grocery cart. Musk lit a spark, and conversations erupted everywhere, dissecting Starmer's choices and questioning the complete disconnect between the government and rural reality.
They feel really betrayed by a guy who basically bought their vote and then did the dirty on them. And listen, I've never, ever, I'm not saying go on strike to anybody, but farmers have an absolute right to protest on this. And I think they'll find the government, very much like with pensioners, there's going to be huge groundswell of support amongst the British public.
With Musk weighing in, this wasn't just a headline grab, it forced a genuine reckoning. His support made people question the essence of leadership. Is it about empty promises that get shelved once the votes are counted, or is it about stepping up when it really matters? Because right now, the guy planning humanity's next leap to Mars seemed to understand down-to-earth values better than any of our elected officials.
And he's betrayed us. He's lied to the British public. And I don't own my farm. I'm only the caretaker for the next generation.
Yeah.
My parents did without in the 70s to keep our farm so we didn't lose it. My great-uncle died on the battlefields of Flanders to keep our farm. Our farm was bombed and strafed by the Germans during the Second World War, and we didn't lose our farm. And we're not going to sit down idly to lose our farms. And if Keir Starmer sold every farm in the UK...
The impact has been seismic. People are debating environmental policies, government overreach, and the precarious future of those who work the land. It's absurd, really. Elon Musk, the guy sending rockets into space, had to bring everyone back down to Earth and remind us of who really keeps society afloat. And as it turns out, when Musk speaks, everyone listens, including the politicians who thought they could get away with betraying the backbone of the nation.
If Keir Starmer sold every farm in the UK, there would still not be enough money for the National Health Service. And the farmers can't pay for all their mistakes. And it's about time the people in this country woke up. You need farmers. We produce cheap, healthy, good food.
The heartbreak in farmers' voices is almost tangible, a gut punch you can't ignore. These farms aren't just economic units, they're chapters of a story that's weathered war, economic collapse, and natural disasters. One farmer, Colin Rare from Berkshire, stood in the freezing snow outside the Farmers' Club in London, trying to keep it together while talking about his family's sacrifices.
And we're going to go out and tell the government our feelings today, because we are angry.
Yeah.
My children are angry, my cousins are angry, my uncles are angry.
Do you fear that there's some kind of other agenda going on here, that they don't care about farmers?
His great-uncle didn't survive the fields of Flanders in World War I, so the farm could be destroyed by attacks in 2024. Their land was bombed in World War II, strafed by German planes, and yet they held on, never once thinking the real threat would come from their own government. Now, the feeling isn't just anger, it's a raw, gut-wrenching desperation. Farmers like Colin are shouting from the rooftops. This isn't about money, it's about preserving something sacred, something their ancestors built through blood, sweat and sleepless nights. David Exwood, Deputy President of the National Farmers Union, cut to the chase, saying, "You shouldn't have to sell your farm to pay a tax."
And they, for some reason, have a hatred of the farmers and the British people. I don't understand that. And we can get food from South America, where it is at the moment, but that means destroying the rainforest.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
But that's exactly what it's coming down to, and farmers are furious. Imagine dedicating your entire life to 16-hour workdays, only to be told by politicians who've probably never stepped foot on a farm that you might have to sell your home just to satisfy the taxman. It's an insult on top of injury. The pain in their voices is met with a determination that's almost defiant. They feel cornered, betrayed, and abandoned, but they refuse to go down quietly. The fight isn't just about economics, it's about survival, holding on to traditions that have weathered storms far greater than this. And while the government keeps pushing, farmers are drawing a line in the sand. They won't back down without a fight.
South America where is at the moment, but that means destroying the rainforest. Is that a good idea? You know, what about the food miles? We can produce good food, and there will be food shortages this Christmas because of the floods in Spain, because our own agricultural, horticultural industry has been destroyed by various governments.
And here's the thing, it's not just farmers feeling the sting, the country is rallying, and it's incredible to watch. Urbanites who once complained about tractor traffic are now saying, God bless the farmers. Scaffolding workers are nodding in solidarity, shopkeepers are throwing up signs of support, and Brits are realising this isn't just a rural issue, it's a national crisis that could turn grocery aisles into war zones of their own. Food prices soaring, shelves emptying. The anger is spreading like wildfire, and it's not hard to see why.
The public are supporting us, and there's a poll in the on Twitter saying that 93% farmers love farmers, only 7% love Starmer. It's about time this Labour government woke up. They have woken a sleeping lion. We will attend every Labour surgery with our tractors.
Recent polls are blowing up on social media, showing that public support for farmers is at a staggering 93%, with Keir Starmer's side dwindling at a laughable 7%. It's a brutal reality check for a leader who thought he could play politics with people's livelihoods and get away with it. Voters are asking why someone so out of touch with real-world struggles is still calling the shots. Starmer's policies don't just seem misguided, they feel downright dangerous to the people who put food on our tables.
Our tractors are on the way up here now. We will protest. This is our life and blood. Our family have given 500 years of blood to keep our farm, and we're not going to give it up lightly.
What's most striking is the wave of unity this crisis has sparked. The usual divides are disappearing. Environmental groups, who often clash with agricultural interests, are stepping up to back the farmers. They get it. Sustainable local farming is critical for the environment too. The lines between rural and urban are blurring, and suddenly this fight is everyone's fight. Starmer's in hot water, and each day without a solution only makes the backlash stronger. Farmers have become the symbol of a much bigger issue, a rallying point for everyone disillusioned with how things are run. Their stories of sacrifice, the tearful pleas, the stubborn refusal to roll over, it's all creating a storm that's only gaining momentum. Keir Starmer might have underestimated just how much fire he's playing with, and if he doesn't act soon, that storm could tear right through his already shaky standing.